You're listening to Opinions and Beer.
Hello and welcome to Opinions and Beer. I'm your host, Adam. In just a few short moments, we'll be talking with James Merendino, the director, writer of cult classic film SLC Punk. Keenan is on the other line with him right this second. As always, our Sunday interviews. The beer review is at the end of the episode. And, that's it. That's all. We got a long episode. So let's get on to this interview with James Merendino.
For Mead.
Yeah. I don't know if we've done an episode on any Mead so far. We've done a lot of different types.
Honey, it's called honey wine, right? Honey wine. Mead.
Yeah, I think I recall how Mead is made.
It's a Ren Fair. It's a Ren Fair thing.
Yeah, I think I've had Mead like once before. I bet you could. I don't know if you can even buy Mead in stores. I don't know if it's only available around Renfest and stuff like that.
They have it in New York stores. There's like pretty big, anachronistic society community where they dress up like knights and they drink mead and they pretend to fight battles.
People that don't like beer won't listen to us, and then people that do like beer. People that do like beer won't listen to us because we don't talk enough about the beer.
Yeah, we go off segment, and then we go on about other things.
So, why? First off, who doesn't like beer? Except for, I guess.
We almost had a.
Maybe if you're sober, even if you're sober, you can still appreciate beer. I don't understand.
It's kind of odd. We almost had Kel Mitchell on the podcast until we told him what our name was, and he said that I guess he's a born again something.
It goes against his image,
and it goes against his image, so he can't
be associated with beer.
I realize that, honestly, I don't know what that's supposed to mean. I don't. I can't. You talk like if you maybe like Mormons don't want to talk to you because they don't want to talk about beer. It's not good for their image.
I guess so.
Beer is a lot of people drink beer.
Yeah.
Civilization wouldn't exist without beer.
It really wouldn't. Like the Egyptians drank beer.
Honestly, the first hunter and gatherers, right? When they discovered fermented, they put their gatherings in a bowl and it fermented over over a month, and they drank it. And at that moment, they said, "We're going to stay here and domesticate because we need to ferment this wheat or whatever it was they were fermenting." And that's how civilization started. It was because they wanted to drink beer.
Man,
so,
that's crazy to think about. Damn.
That's it.
I know.
That's why we have disease and everything. It was all around staying put so you could wait for your stuff to ferment. That's the truth.
Man, they don't teach that in history class.
No. And actually,
how do they miss that? It starts with the Mesopotamians and it goes over to the Egyptians. It was all about the beer.
Yeah, the Egyptians were making, mead. They were making honey wine and stuff like that.
That's right. Yeah, it was about you can't. That's the one thing hunters and gatherers can't do is they can't make alcohol because they gotta keep moving until they can't be around for the fermentation process.
Yeah.
So then you stop doing that and you start growing wheat because fermented drink was the only anesthetic. There was the only thing to. It sort of helped people. Back then, it was pretty tough to live, so, a little buzz on was probably a good thing.
Can you imagine being the first guy to drink the fermented, their gatherings that they put there?
It's probably an accident.
Yeah, well.
If anything.
It was an accident, yeah.
It's more like, we ain't got nothing but our gatherings that's been sitting here for months fermenting. This is all we have to survive on right now, so we're going to take a shot at it.
Which is actually getting popular right now in the craft beer community is they're going back to, sours. Letting wild yeast ferment their beer. So
did you know that when it used to be pretty common that when people would come over on ships, they didn't drink water. They drank beer.
Oh yeah,
to hydrate because the water would go bad.
Yeah, and that's why you always hear about pirates drinking grog and all that. All grog is whiskey, sugar, and water. because their water wouldn't keep unless they put whiskey and sugar in it. Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, honestly, how could you have survived without alcohol TV and antibiotics?
I know,
right?
It's like alcohol is the only thing killing anything.
Now everybody looks down on people for being a drunk. Back in the day, they're like, "Why are you not a drunk?" You know?
Yeah.
Oh, hey, new audience to tap into, the anti-vaxxers.
Oh yeah. Like, if you don't vaccinate, you better drink a lot. You know.
Polio, you say drinking. That's actually the story about a film-related story where John Huston and Humphrey Bogart were shooting The African Queen in Africa, and everyone got dysentery except for them because they were drunk the whole time.
Oh yeah.
So there's the benefits.
Yeah, makes sense.
No, they didn't drink the water.
That sounds like me. I'd be safe. You know?
Right.
I never drink water.
Yeah.
So Mr. Merendino, you are a director. Is that correct?
Yeah, apparently. Yeah.
Actually, Keenan here. It took us a minute to scheduling. I found that scheduling interviews and podcasts is quite consuming as far as you gotta be right on the money. But we waited for Keenan. Keenan went to jail over marijuana.
Yeah.
How was your stay?
30 days. Over
How
a roach.
was it? It was a nice. Was it a good vacation?
Oh man, no, it sucked. Jail sucks. Like apparently the jail I went to, like everyone was bragging about how I went to Orange County Jail and everyone's like, oh man, Orange County Jail is like a stay in a hotel compared to other counties. It still sucked.
Yeah, jail would suck.
Oh yeah.
Why'd you go to jail? What did you go to jail for?
Oh, okay. Well, it starts out as a simple story and just gets more and more complicated as it goes. I got caught with a roach. We got pulled over, and the cops like, look, man, like if y'all are super on, and let me start the story out by saying the other day my brother had gotten caught with an ounce, and he honestly showed the officer the ounce. And the officer just gave him a warning and let him go. Like, oh, don't let me catch you out here again. All right, hearing that.
Reaction. Yeah.
So I pull out this little roach that I have. Like, here you go, officer. It's just a roach. I'm sure he's about to scatter it to the wind and tell us to have a nice day. Motherfucker puts handcuffs on me and brings me to jail for the roach. So I go to jail. Yeah, I know, right? The weed laws are changing all around America, but not in Texas.
Almost legal. What the hell?
Yeah. And then, dude, that's just it. Texas is throwing the book at weed users while there's still a book to throw at them, you know? So he brings me to jail. I spend the night in jail, and then I get out, and I got court and all that, and I get a lawyer. And my lawyer tells me, oh, what, you spent the night in jail for a roach? That's ridiculous. I'm going to get you time served, we're going to go to court, and you're just going to get time served, and this is all going to be over. So I go to court. I don't even see the judge. My lawyer has, some backroom conversation with the judge in the judge's office. Then he comes out, and he's like, yeah, you got to pay $1,000. And I'm like, what happened to time served? All right, so I get charged with this $1,000 warrant, and I'm in a weird place professionally. I'm not making a lot of money, so that didn't get paid. And then I ended up having to move to Louisiana, and in my absence, I got a failure to appear. I was charged with bond jumping, and of course, there's still the original possession of marijuana charge. So then, I had a warrant out for my arrest, and I knew that, there's many, sure, I can keep ignoring that warrant and just keep my head down and my nose clean and not deal with this and ignore it. But I knew that, there's so many opportunities that this warrant has stopped me from. And if I'm ever going to clean my life up, I knew I'd take care of that warrant. So I straight up fucking went to Orange County Jail and turned myself in. And I had completely misunderstood the situation. I thought I had a warrant out because of that $1,000 warrant. Now, 100 days in jail, that's just 10 days in jail. I could fucking do that. So I marched my ass up there and turned myself in. And then find out about all the other shit, the bond jumping, the failure to appear. Like, oh yeah, that's right, I did have a court date that I didn't show up to. So 10 days turned to 30.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's what happened.
That's awful. That's wow. That's like.
Yeah, it's a cautionary tale though. So this stuff seems ignorable because if you just keep your head down, but it's accumulating over time as you ignore it. You're not doing yourself any favors ignoring any warrants or fines or court appearances at all.
I had a friend who went to jail for not appearing in court for not having a seatbelt on. I mean, that stuff piles on.
Yeah.
Failure to appear, and then that becomes an issue. I mean, he just didn't even know. I mean, apparently he didn't have a seatbelt on. He got a ticket, and then he sent him a check, and he just assumed it was finished.
Yeah,
and, he had to. The next thing you know, and they put him in jail for 10 days.
Oh man, they don't tell you a thing either. They don't want you to know because they want it to turn into a warrant so that they can prosecute you to the maximum, get more money out of you.
Those are profit jails, so they need to keep their quotas. I mean, this guy was a producer. He was, he couldn't buy his way out of it or anything. Terrible.
Oh yeah, it's a capious warrant.
He's like, they said, "What are you in jail for?" He's like, "For I didn't wear my seatbelt." So honestly, they said this. He's supposed to wear a seatbelt to be safe, so they put him in jail with rapists.
Yeah, I was just about to comment how and they judge you based on what you're in there for. People treated me like shit because I was just I just had a little bit of weed. They're like, "Fuck you, you ain't no gangster," and I was like, "Of course I'm not. I'm just a stoner. God damn it, You ain't no gangster. I'm not fucking trying to be."
You told him you were, I don't know, maybe my arch criminal,
Yeah.
But then they make you prove it. So, that's the problem. I guess the problem.
Yeah. But it's all over now. I'm glad to be out. Like I said, that's something I had to take care of. I got it taken care of. So now I can move on to further steps to, putting my life back together.
Well, and that was in Texas. I mean, I live in New York. It's we're a little more broad-minded up here because we have some really hardcore criminals up here.
Yeah, I heard you get caught smoking a joint in New York, and it's just a ticket at the most, right?
You can't. There's nowhere in the city where you can walk where you don't smell joint. Anywhere you walk, it's like you're walking through a cloud. You get high.
Man,
so many people smoke. It's unbelievable.
Dude, everywhere in America is the weed culture is changing everywhere in America except for Texas. But man, I love Texas so much. I moved just as far as Louisiana, and the whole time I was living there, I was like, man, I gotta get back to Texas, man. I'm a fucking Texas boy.
Texas do you live? Where do you live?
We live in southeast Texas, but no, basically East Texas. It's known to the rest of the world to East Texas. It's only known to Southeast Texas to us,
East Texas, where is that? Where the
it's like near Beaumont, near Beaumont and Orange.
We're an hour away from Houston.
Did you get hit by that hurricane?
Oh yeah, that's the whole reason. One of the whole reasons why I moved to Harvey. I moved to Louisiana was because of Harvey. Yeah, I was. I didn't have a lot of places to stay, and Texas has gone to shit because of the storm, and everybody was having hard times. I wasn't trying to add to their struggle by sleeping on their couches and shit.
Yeah, in fact, one of our co-hosts is still rebuilding his house. Still has no walls in it, and he's it's like camping out in his house because it's still unrepaired. He never got any funds or nothing. So
man, Harvey's one of the I know there's been way worse natural disasters than Harvey, but Harvey is the worst natural disaster that I ever experienced, and man, it was crazy.
That's got to be terrible, man. I have friends in Houston, but yeah, that got hit too. But it sounds like you were right there in the eye of the storm, right?
Oh yeah, we actually got. I think we got about 10 extra inches than Houston did. And it was basically, it was mainly because it wasn't even the storm. What happened was these the dam people, the people that
damn people,
the damn people.
Your levees didn't hold, right? I mean, that's
they released it. They just opened it. They opened it.
I guess to make sure it doesn't break, they just straight up opened it.
Yes, because that's the problem, is that they don't want to fix the infrastructure, so those things are weak. I mean, they have modern levees that they don't have to do that. They build them in Holland. We're not even close. This is you're talking about 1930s technology.
Yeah, I think that's after Harvey. I think I seen some stuff about that online. Like, if we had these levees, we wouldn't be in this situation.
It's true. It's true. I mean, because like Holland has the best dams because they're underwater. I mean, if they didn't have those dams, there wouldn't be a country.
Yeah.
So
you'd be damn sure that those are some good dams.
Yeah, they have the best dams, and also they're very efficient people. So they really upgraded. So I mean, if they just put a little cash into that, we could actually fix. The country could fix that stuff. I just don't think people are. They're more concerned about other stuff right now.
Yeah, sadly.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, it's what it is.
Yeah, it is what it is.
So actually, the biggest part of why we wanted Keenan on this particular episode with you, Mr. Merendino, is because he's a huge SLC Punk fan. He grew up on that stuff.
Oh.
His brother cries at the scene that Bob dies because Keenan always looked like Bob.
I was always close to Bob. Like not so much in appearance, except for of course I had many mohawks. But no, it's just like my brother refused to. Like, I was so much like Bob after seeing the ending once, my brother could never watch it again because he said it's like seeing me laying there dead and stuff like that.
So so when you actually die, am I going to get stalked by your brothers?
I don't know. I'm gonna give my brother your contact info just because I want to see that play out.
I'll come to the funeral. All right.
And I'll be laying there in a green army jacket with a black mohawk. Just like with the dead look in my eye. Man, I've heard so much stuff about that scene. It's true that Matthew Lillard, that was all on the spot. There was no script. Like, he came up with all that on his own, ad lib.
Well, yeah, I put him in a situation where I just told him to sit there and look at and think about it, and then I rolled for 10 minutes, and he started to really react. I mean, he was friends with Michael, and he started to imagine that Mike was dead. And I just had a scene with him where he yelled at Mike when Matthew's not he's a really nice guy. He doesn't get mad.
Yeah.
So. He was off balance, and then when he did that scene, he was genuinely emotional. He really went there. So that was his reaction. That's how he felt.
That's to this day. That's still some of the greatest acting I've ever seen in my life. Was just Matthew Lillard
really
leaning over the body. I'm not ready for this. If I watched that scene right now, it'd be like the 2 millionth time I've watched that scene, and it'd still be like, oh my god.
Yeah. I mean, everyone was, after the scene was done, everyone was crying about, everyone was crying. The DP, the grips, everybody was, the DP even couldn't look through the lens because it was all wet. It was from crying. I was downstairs watching the monitor and the wardrobe, and everybody was crying. I was laughing because I was thinking, my God, it's a great scene.
Yeah. People might misunderstand. If I seen that scene now, I'd probably start laughing for the same exact reason, and people would misjudge that. I'd be like, "What are you laughing? You asshole!"
Yeah, I was just thinking to myself. I was selfish. I was thinking, this is gonna go in the movie, man. This is gonna be great.
Man, so what prompted you to write SLC Punk? You grew up in the punk scene, and was that any of that from your life directly?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not going to own the punk scene in Salt Lake in any way. I was just sort of, I do a lot of movies about outsiders, and I felt no one had ever, at the time I thought, at that time in the late 90s, people didn't really remember punks or weren't talking about punks or whatever.
Oh, I know.
I was thinking, these people don't know. And I kept seeing movies where they show punk being the thugs, the white thugs, the guys that with knives that hold people up. And I'm like, none of those guys were like that.
Oh, I know.
So I thought I'd write a movie about it. Coming from Salt Lake City and knowing punks and having gone to a lot of punk shows and I having personal experiences. So I wrote what I thought was a representation of how these guys really were. Not a documentary, but just a sort of a point of view.
Yeah.
And it was really for baby boomers to say here, this is what it was, so now shut up, and stop judging. And it turns out that the audience I didn't anticipate that punks were going to watch it, and say, hey, fucker, don't talk for us. So,
yeah, well, that's just the punk rock state of mind. There's a lot of elitists and there's another word a friend of mine used, and it seemed very appropriate, but I can't remember it. Gatekeepers. There's a lot of elitists and gatekeepers. Like, they don't want anyone else in their punk scene, so they try. Yeah, and it's like that. They watch that film and they just they're all around dicks most of the time.
All around dicks.
Yeah, but I mean, even if like now you talk about it, and I keep thinking like, okay, it's become more. The movie grew into like it's like everything else with punk. If it gets old, like, people start to like it. But I mean, even the people that are so critical of it, I feel like it's like, well, that's what punk man just proposes. And I think, like, that movie's 20 years old, man. What are you talking about? I mean, like, that's like me, like, saying, I don't know, like, it was 1990 when I started making movies. If I said, oh, yeah, well, The Graduate's for posers, because it was 20 years ago, I mean, who would think, I think people would think I was crazy.
Yeah, I mean, like, for its time,
it's like, that's a movie, that movie's like a pretty old movie. So, I don't know. I mean, so whatever, right? It's those guys, it's some punks, or whatever, punks, whatever that means. I always thought that that particular, no one owns that, and it pretty much was meant to include everybody. So, that's what I thought. And if the gatekeepers, as you say, think that it's somehow not correctly representative, what is representative of their particular scene? I don't know what that is. I don't know.
I thought it was spot on. I thought you hit the nail on the head. And of course, the punk culture and the punk scene that I know was like a revival of the punk scene. Some 30 years later in the early 2000s and stuff like that. And I thought it was spot on. I thought that's exactly how we did it. That's exactly how shows were.
Would you say that SLC Punk is a cult classic amongst that group?
Yeah, man, dude. Like, every punk I've come across loves the show, and it's like, what's ironic is it's a cautionary tale. Like, every punk goes down that same road, and every punk says they're not gonna go down that road, and they go down that road. You can't grow up and be a punk and also go out and get a job and stuff like that. Like, you gotta sell out. At a certain age, you gotta sell out. Like, I spent my whole life trying not to sell out, and that's why I'm 30 working at a fast food restaurant.
Okay, well, here's the thing though that some people miss that maybe I don't really usually talk about it, but because it's not very popular. But the movie has a little bit of a comment about class, where I'm a bit cynical, or it's just my nature. It's a little, it's gone over a lot of people's heads. But that Steve-O's a rich kid,
yeah,
right? So he's basically a tourist. I mean, he's pretending he's doing this whole gutter punk thing, but in the end, he has the option to go to Harvard because his dad's rich.
Man, I thought about that.
Whereas Bob's dad lives in a shack, so like he's like legitimately like poor, right? So he has no options. That's why it's his home, and so there's this idea that, well, that guy stays there and he dies, and the rich kid goes to Harvard. I mean, it's like, to me, it's like that's class in this country is the real issue. Our differences aren't so much about black or white or Republican or Democrat or all this stuff, punks or country western or whatever. All that shit's bullshit. The real truth is that what makes us different are rich and poor. The people who have money can do whatever the fuck they want, and the people who don't have money are stuck. That's what that movie ultimately is about.
Yeah, I remember thinking about that. Like, a lot of those thoughts came to mind. Like, both Steve-O and Bob, apparently they went to college, but they did it to fuck the system. And I was like, man, I couldn't have gone to college. I dropped out and shit. And they don't want to get a job, but they stay in this house and it's all wrecked and shit. But somebody's paying for that house, and I've always speculated. It's like, I bet you Steve-O's dad pays the bills for that house.
Yeah, of course it's Steve-O's dad paying for that.
Yeah. and like, dude, I remember growing up and hanging out with a lot of gutter punks and crusties on the streets, and they're like, "Man, we don't wish we had a house like that." I was like, "Yeah, but our dad isn't rich, so like we got to literally squat."
And that's why in the end, when people ask me why did Steve-O admit to being a poser, because he's a poser, man. Because he doesn't have to be a gutter punk. That's not. He was posing. It's not. Life did not put him in a situation where he has to stay there.
I feel like I've subliminally thought that, but never actually consciously acknowledged that,
Yeah, well, I mean, like, that's why sometimes I try to say, like, look, I try to be, like, it's hard to be, like, I was being really critical of that, and sometimes people felt like, well, how would you be critical? Because I made him likable, and it's a person you're supposed to relate to, so why would I criticize him in a movie? And it's like, that's where I become problematic in what I do, is that I will take a character and make you like them, and then later on realize that maybe, though, it's not totally perfect.
Yeah, see, my thoughts, I always had this, like I said earlier, about you can't grow up without selling out. That's always what I thought about at the end of the movie when he says those final lines. Like I said, that's how that was my perspective of it. That, like, you can't grow up, and if you, as soon as you grow up, if you do the responsible thing and you hang up your punk rock lifestyle and the gutter punk lifestyle, and you go out and you get a job and you try to put your life together, then that's you selling out as a punk. And if you're selling out now, then you were never a punk to begin with, and you were always a poser. But everyone has to do that. So I guess that at the end we're nothing more than a bunch of goddamn trendy ass posers.
Yeah, everybody's a poser. Yeah,
And see, that's why I can't stand the gatekeeper elitist lifestyle or point of view of many punks have that point of view. I'm more hardcore than you. Everyone's more hardcore than the next person, and it's all a bunch of bullshit.
Well, but that would be my definition. And in the old days, that's the definition of a poser, is somebody who owns it, who thinks that punk is there. Then that's the poser.
Oh like they wrote the punk rock handbook.
If you're missing the joke, then you're missing everything. Like, if you don't get it, like, if you think it's some kind of elitist movement about us and men, if you get too tribal and too, that's lame. That's like, I mean, because I should be able to.
And that's how it dies off. Whenever you, like, a bunch of punks act like they don't want any more new
hypocrisy, because then
because
then it's no longer about punk rock and being
freedom and all that.
The fucking
anarchist
anarchy.
Yeah,
it's like the opposite of anarchy.
It's supposed to be no rules.
Yeah,
like, no definition, no rules.
They got a whole list of rules for their no rule lifestyle.
No rules. No buying into any of the bullshit. No buying into, like, I mean, I knew a guy that would go to thrift stores and buy clothes and tear off the labels, because he didn't want to advertise. I mean, like, whatever you want to do, like, that's the thing. But I mean, if you start, when I first showed the movie, there was this punk band that went on stage. It was at the premiere, and one of the students, I don't know how this band got hired, but they got hired to play the post show. And right before they went on, I was supposed to introduce them. I didn't know who they were. They were called Freebird, I think. And yeah, it was called Freebird. And they said to me, I was offended. This guy with really long hair and a T-shirt, and it says to me, here's the guitarist. He says, that movie's offensive because we take punk really seriously, and they're making fun of punk. And I said, I can't introduce you, man. Like, honestly, like, and so I got Black Dahlia from the Doors to introduce them for me, and man, it was just horrible. He went up on stage and he said, so now that we watched that poser, dumbass, piece of shit movie, now we're going to have a real punk band show us what punk's really all about. So everybody give it up for Free Turd.
Oh, that's great.
And I thought that was one of the best introductions you could have, right? Black Dahlia, giving you shit. That's a punk introduction. And they wouldn't play.
Because they got butthurt.
No.
Oh, no. You didn't make them out to be tough enough,
But that's the whole point, is like, it's like stirring shit up. Like, if I was that band, like, Black Dahlia just totally bust my balls. I gotta play now. Come on.
Well, that's why there's not a massive punk scene now. I mean, all these elitists telling other people that they're not punk enough to be punk until next thing you know, you don't have any punks. And then they're like, well, how did this happen? You're why this happened, asshole. You know?
They all went to emonism.
Yeah, you know?
You gotta stop. I mean, like, it's just a good time in the end, really.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I mean, wait. I mean, honestly, like, that's what I was saying. The original movie was really trying to say to baby boomers, you know, like our parents, my parents, this is what we were doing, this is what it was all about, and you guys fucked this up. That was it. You know?
Yeah.
That was,
Yeah, see, and then you got, like,
And now only rich people can go see punk shows because punk's not dead, but it's doing cruises.
but it's doing cruises. Yeah, like, you know, I miss the punk lifestyle, you know.
So
yeah, but I mean, I don't like it's an attitude anyway. So I think that you know, I mean, just you know, I don't know. I'm not a punk. I'm always weird, you know. So I get along with whoever's weird at the time.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's why you know I was okay. I mean, because the only thing was that in the '80s when I was going to high school, late '80s, was that I was weird. I was definitely considered weird. I got my ass kicked all the time. So just because I looked weird, I talked weird, and the only people that didn't give me a hard time were punks. So that's why, you know, and that should have. I don't know how that changed because it was never about being a hard ass or I don't know
a criminal.
Yeah, or criminal or about being even elitist. You know, it was pretty much like, oh, you're weird. Come hang out with us. Don't worry about those guys. That was it.
Yeah.
You know, like that. I mean, that was in Utah, and you know, it's pretty conservative and pretty, you know, they're pretty rigid. And then these punks are like, we don't give a shit what you are. Come hang with us.
Yeah, I mean, so, I met like, you know, groups of punks that are like exactly what you're talking about, and I met groups of punks that are the elitist, and it's just some people actually understand the culture of punk, and some people think they understand it. You know? Well,
that's like what happened with that straight edge movement. Like Ian McKay even criticizes it a lot, that the straight edge movement became almost like a gang. Like Mormons are attracted to it because, you know, you don't drink, you don't smoke, all that shit.
Yeah, no sex, drugs, or violence.
Abortion clinics and stuff. And it's just like, Ian was like, listen, I was straight edge because I just never wanted to drink. It wasn't because I was judging anyone.
And their music's terrible.
And they became, like, the straight edge thing just became like, just like, you guys are the worst. Like, just knock it off, man. I mean, like, the point isn't to judge. The point is that everyone gave him shit, Ian, for not drinking. So he was like, look, I'm sorry, I'm lame, I don't drink, so what? Like, that was all, you know? And then it became like this weird Nazi thing, like, you know, we don't drink, fuck you.
Yeah,
you know?
We're vegans. We're brutal, we're tough vegans.
Yeah, whatever. You're like, we're gonna
oh yeah, the straight edge thing caught on really big in the hardcore metal movement, you know. So you got these tough guys, they're like singing really angry music with breakdowns, but they're like, you know,
Gatorade.
Yeah, we're tough, but because we don't eat meat or drink alcohol or smoke, that's why we're tough.
There's an element to it that's so hardcore that you don't drink or smoke because it's almost like you're fascist, right? Like, that's the idea. Like, you're like, I'm sober, man. I'm real. I'm here. I'm hardcore. I don't need to kill the pain. I don't know what the hell they think, but
yeah,
it's just like, you know, it's just a preference. I don't know what other countries are like, but in the United States, people are really crazy with their tribes, man.
Oh yeah,
like, they gotta stop. Like, you know, like, just, or maybe we just need 50 different countries. I don't know. Like, it's just
how
crazy.
Does tribalism even form, you think? Like, why does it form?
Well, want to belong, and I think that in this country, that it's like so big. It's so big, so much bigger than almost any other country. That it's like, I mean, it's the biggest free country in the world. So people get scared and they want to belong to something, so they start to structure these little groups that they can fit in and become little nations of their own. That's what happens in a free space. People
that was very
create
well said.
little countries.
Yeah, I agree with that. That was very well said. I think that's exactly what's going on. I mean, even I can relate to that. You know, that's why I enjoyed punk rock. That's why I enjoyed the culture and the lifestyle. and the niche, just having my own group of people, and we're all the same, and it's just like us against the world kind of thing,
Well, I mean, you think about it, though. I mean, in America, I mean, if you don't, I mean, you're pretty free, and to the point to where you're cut loose if you don't really try to belong to anything. You're totally cut loose. I mean, if you grew up I went to school in Italy. Now, everybody in Italy, all the guys have to go and do the army for a year, right? So they all have that in common. They also everything and it's a smaller country, so you have you have your very extended families and your neighborhoods, and I mean, it's all very intact. So you don't really need to be so tribal. You're all Italian. In America, it's just huge, and there's so many different everything. That I think that it causes a lot of anxiety because there's no structure.
And on a general, unless there's a massive disaster where thousands are brutally murdered, we kind of never really come together.
Yeah.
The only time we come together in a whole as Americans is when, like I said,
it's because we're obsessed with having an enemy, and when a natural disaster happens or something happens, we can all have one enemy collectively.
Yeah. Damn you, Harbor!
But when that's over, Harvey.
Or Pearl Harbor, one of these kinds of events that makes everyone momentarily say, "Well, we have the same agenda. We want to kick the shit out of who did this."
Yeah, exactly. Cuts a couple years later, my tribe's better than yours.
Yeah, then it devolves into just, I don't know, petty, and then it gets really. I mean, I don't like it. I honestly think we could all just be fine. I don't know, but I don't need a tribe. I'm okay. I'm okay just hanging out.
You don't need a tribe?
Yeah, like my tribe, for lack of a better word, right now consists of 2 people, Adam and Timmy. That's my tribe.
I've been applying to tribes. I've been getting applications and sending them in.
Yeah, I applied to the country tribe and the easy core tribe and the emo tribe. I haven't had any words back yet, but
I mean, I've got 1 or 2 rejection letters.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah. So I guess that's the point. I mean, I think that I think this country's great. I just think that that's sort of a byproduct. I think people really don't understand it, and I think that's why some people I think that's the reason why there's so many shootings in high schools and that kind of mass murder stuff. It's because you find those people are being cut loose from structure. It's not because guns are legal or not legal. I think it's because some people can really get lost in the cracks in this country because it's just so goddamn big. They get depersonalized, and they just they want to, I don't know, they lash out. I think that's what, because the laws are the same in Canada about guns, and they don't do that up there.
Yeah, and this didn't always be like that. Like, laws on guns used to be more relaxed, and I'm not saying it's the gun laws, like you say. I'm not saying whether it's here or there with the gun laws, but this wasn't always the case in America. Just one day, they're just ban school shootings all the time now. Cut to a couple of decades ago, that wasn't the case.
After World War II, the country was pretty united, and then as it slowly, the 60s came and eroded, and all that stuff eroded, you started seeing this kind of thing happen. And as it got more populated and people went to their corners, then people started losing. Then people start weirdo. That's why you need punk movements to be that open, because if those kids that go in shooting just ended up hanging out with a bunch of punks, they wouldn't have done that.
Oh yeah.
I always because SLC Punk came out the very same day. I was in Colorado premiering SLC Punk, and the next day was Columbine. And I just kept. And so I was in Austin doing an interview, and they asked me what I thought about that because of SLC Punk, and I said, well, if those guys had been able to maybe just hang out with punks, who maybe that scene would have been maybe like a bit of a. I could imagine that those kids might not have done that. I don't think it's about. I mean, you could say gun control, but I mean, I'm not like Mr. NRA or anything like that. But I don't think that gun control is going to change.
No, see, I don't think it's either way. I don't think there should be no. I don't think there should be, no laws on guns. I don't think there should be too many laws on guns. And like you said, I think it's a completely separate topic. But if guns were extremely illegal, the kid that wanted to shoot up the school, if he really wanted to, if he had it in his head, if he was determined to shoot up the school, he'd go and find a gun. Now,
he would have done something.
Yeah.
The point is that that's, a symptom, I guess, the tools I guess it's harder to get tools maybe, but heroin is totally illegal in this country. I can't help it. I can't help thinking this way. Heroin is 100% illegal, yet it's a really popular drug.
Yeah, same thing. Yeah,
and especially with 3D printers. 3D printers now, you can just print yourself a gun.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't see how. Again, maybe it's common sense. I don't know. I have to look at the problem from a more pragmatic way of why are these sort of beta males? Why do they do that shit? And I think I try to understand them, not so much what their ability to get the gun, but more why are we doing that?
Yeah, it's why they're shooting up the school,
what's your drive in the first place to want to do this?
Yeah, it doesn't matter how he got it done.
You need to ask those kids. You need to listen to those kids and say why is it happening? Not how did he do it. We know how he did it, and we know that the gun was legally got or not legally got. It doesn't matter. Why did he do it? Not because he didn't do it because guns are easy to get. That's not the reason why he did it.
Yeah,
that's not the reason why they do that shit. That's a means to accomplish something. There's a reason, but we don't know. I think there's a reason why, and I think that it's pretty unique to the United States. Because we're not the only country with lax gun laws. We're not the only country.
I'm sure it's happened before, but I've never actually heard any news article or internet news over a school shooting in any other country ever.
Well, every country has their own weird little thing. I think.
Well, there was in Norway, that guy was pretty horrible. He killed all those kids on that island. That never happened before in Norway. And then in Canada, there was that original shooting, which was that song, the Boomtown Rats, called I Don't Like Mondays. I think it was about that kid that shot those kids at school in Canada. It's not as much as here, though. Here it's every
once a month or something like that.
Once a month, yeah. It's that's just, when it happens in another country, it's whoa. So it's not like it doesn't happen. Obviously, these instincts exist. Before this was these kinds of things were a problem, in the 18th century or 19th century, when life really didn't matter that much. There were serial killers. No one cared,
Yeah.
unless somebody rich got killed, no one gave a shit.
That's why there's movies about that one crackpot detective that wants to solve the case, and everyone else is like, "Oh my God, we don't care."
Yeah.
I get it. Everyone, bodies are dropping like flies. Can we move on?
Yeah, no, it's and what? People are dying. Because also people, didn't live very long anyway.
And that's why, no one caught Jack the Ripper. No one tried to catch Jack the Ripper.
I know they wanted smaller lines at Disney World.
Prostitutes, so it's hard to really. Those women are dying of consumption in bigger numbers than being killed like that. So they just didn't care.
Yeah,
laws weren't that. And then before even then, in the 16th century, there really weren't laws protecting regular people. There were laws protecting the king and those people.
Yeah.
If peasants wanted to kill each other, that was fine. Whatever you're gonna do.
Yeah. And then cut to a little bit later, I remember gangs in New York was talked about how, all the cops were there for was to protect the rich from the poor. They didn't care what the poor did to each other, And
that's definitely true. It's a recent thing that we care about, poor people.
Yeah.
And what to do. That's pretty recent. Even from 1921, I was seeing a documentary about the Tulsa riots, where there was a African American community became very wealthy, and the local Klan people decided to kill them all, and so it ended up with planes dropping bombs on the neighborhood, and literally there on the books it said there was actually no actual law that says you can't kill a black person.
Oh my god. No law.
Nobody actually got in trouble for that, except for the few black people that tried to protect their homes with guns. This country definitely has some fucked up shit with it, you know?
Yeah.
There's no law against it. Oh my god.
Oh man, like I don't even have to comment on that. That,
Yeah,
that says
look up-
everything in itself.
Look up the Tulsa lynching. It's like they don't teach in history. Man, that is crazy what happened. It was crazy.
Yeah, the riot.
Oh yeah.
Great riots. It was pretty one-sided. It was pretty much white guys killing black people. It's it. That's all they.
Damn, that's crazy.
They were rich, so they said like we're going to end this neighborhood, and they did. They successfully did it. They cleared out the whole neighborhood, burned down all the houses and all the businesses. First they stole everything, and then they burned everything down.
Damn it. And they completely got away with it? No charges, no consequences?
They considered the real bad guys are the black people, and because the newspapers were behind the whole thing in the first place.
Yeah.
And, weird things like that have happened in a lot of places, and actually, I guess the Tulsa one is obviously the most famous one, or infamous one, I should say. But we have like really old people that would tell us stories about something that happened in this area that was very similar.
Oh yeah, man. In this area, and the small town that we live in called Vidor, they actually tried to like pay.
You're near Vidor, Texas?
Yeah, we're in Vidor, Texas right now. Yeah. No, look, he's heard of it. You know. No, yeah. So
the main chapter of the Texas Klan has come out of Vidor.
yeah. No, it used to.
No. That was
Adam's getting offensive.
because like many things in history, shit's skewed.
Yeah, like it's not like the one main clan, but
but the clan, these clan people actually lived in a town near Vidor, but Vidor they used to have these they still do, they have like these big parades once a year or whatever, and I guess whatever clan that was paid to have a float in that parade, and ever since then that's been the biggest rumor about that.
Oh yeah.
Called Thin Blue Line.
No.
Well, you should, because it's about a guy who goes to jail in Dallas, Texas, for a murder. It was really committed by a guy from Vidor, Texas.
That sounds.
Oh,
familiar.
have you seen 3 Billboards?
Yeah.
That's about Vidor.
Yeah.
Is that about the murder?
Yes.
The
About the guy that killed his wife.
Was it Karen Page or Kelly?
Yeah,
Page?
Kelly Page.
Yeah. Oh man, my mom knew that.
Yeah,
chick and stuff.
That happened in Vidor. Yeah. Well, the documentary is about this guy from Vidor. They go to Vidor. They interview the sheriff in Vidor. That's why I know about Vidor, Texas. It's a very famous documentary.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, I totally believe that dude straight up covered up that murder. The sheriff took a bribe. Just
he's talking about a separate murder.
Oh, is he? Never mind. I'm talking out my ass about some other shit then.
It was the Dallas people in Dallas were covering up for the kid in Vidor. The sheriff in Vidor was the only guy that was saying this kid is probably the guy that did the murder. He killed a cop.
Damn.
But they wanted to put it on a drifter because they didn't want to fuck with this kid because he was a nice kid. So he ended up killing a bunch of other people and ended up on death row. And he had been guilty the whole time. And this guy, the sheriff from Vidor, was the only cool guy in the whole police force. He was the guy from Vidor.
Damn. What a twist.
Yeah, you should check it out. Thin Blue Line, favorite documentary filmmaker.
You said it's called Thin Blue Line?
Thin Blue Line.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm definitely check it out. Yeah, it's crazy that most time it's for negative shit, but it's still always crazy to me when our little town gets put on the map. Gets it's spoken about by the rest of the world.
I got a good sense because he interviews people that live in Vidor, and they seem like really sweet people. You'll see it in the documentary. Like he says, I knew that guy, but shucks, I feel I've done something wrong, but that guy's crazy. Yeah, these are the guys from Vidor. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, I don't have the best opinion of Vider, to say the least. Man, Vider's pretty fucked up, dude. Like, you can't walk down the road in Vider barefooted in fear of stepping on a used needle or broken meth pipe.
Oh, wow, it's got bad like that, huh? I didn't know.
Yeah, always wear your shoes.
I think that's all small towns. I think Timmy here, he used to live in another small town. He said the drugs are bad.
Yeah. I guess I grew up in a small.
I haven't been to a small town in a while, but I'm dying because I used to be like all church going folk, but I guess that's gone down.
Well, like, the general community of Vider is all like. I guess he's right about like. And every town, small or large, has its own underworld, and there's, on the surface, you have, of course, normal community, church-going folk and just normal, hard-working people. But then, like, I feel like the underworld of Vider oversizes the actual normal community, like, tenfold,
That'd be an interesting story to tell. Listen, I live right now, I live in Harlem, and people say a lot of shit about Harlem. But I'll tell you, there's more churches in Harlem than there is in all of Texas. The town is Harlem, there's a lot of people go to church in Harlem. There's 4 churches on my block.
Dang. Yeah, I feel that way about Vider.
They're all Baptist church. All Baptist.
Oh.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think Vider, at one point we were in the top 5 with towns in Texas with the most churches. So.
Wow.
Oh yeah, there's one on every block.
So it's gone to the devil then down there in Vider.
It's ironic because Vider used to be a dry county, and you couldn't buy alcohol in Vider, and then one day that changed. We want to make it a wet county, but then no one could be, everywhere you go, you're next to a school or a church. So it complicated the whole thing, but they worked it out. Now you can buy beer in Vider.
Okay. That's too bad. Because I like these small towns. I don't mind going to. I used to be terrified because when I was younger, I just get my ass kicked. No matter any small town, I was going to get beat up. Right? Nothing's going to happen. But now that I'm older, it's okay. I don't get so much shit.
Oh man, when I first moved to Vider, I swear, I got punched in the face for being new to Vider. I came out of a corner store and some dude just right hooked me out of nowhere, and then ran off. And I was screaming, what the fuck? You gonna punch me, Roy, you pussy? Come back! Oh, he fucking came back. He came back, and I was like, I guess that is where I thought this would go. And then the cops pulled up, and I was glad too, because I was about to fight this motherfucker, but damn it, I didn't want to. And and then the cops showed up, and I was like, oh, well, I guess that's better than what was about to happen. And dude, that was week 1 in Vider. And then every time I went to, I was a punk, I loved to drink, I loved to smoke, and at the time I'd do any drug that was put in front of me. And so I like to go to parties, but I didn't know anybody. So every party I was at, filled with nothing but strangers. And dude, I got into a fight every fucking party I went to until I just stopped partying.
Well, that's one way to stop, but that's terrible, though. I don't understand. I don't understand that. So,
you can imagine.
Some towns are like that. Some towns are a little more friendly. It just depends. I don't know. It's just weird because, I've been to small towns where everyone's really nice, and then yes, you can go to small towns where the guys are gonna, they're gonna be like, "What the hell you do? What stranger?"
Everyone has a chip on their shoulder.
Yeah.
To be fair, where you were was a backwoods.
Oh yeah,
next to the bad apartments type of.
Yeah, no, it's just where I got punched in the face was in a bad part of town, and every single person's house that I went to go party to just so happened to be the freaking lieutenant in the Aryan Brotherhood or some shit like that. And I'm a punk rock who's all about freedom and punk's about just anti-isms, just anti-sexism, anti-racism,
It's like a modern hippie.
Yeah, and these are and I'm fuck racism, and I tell it to them to their face, and they'll be and it just start fights,
What's weird though, this brings us back to the tribe mentality, because a lot of these guys, we have a friend, our friend Timmy right here. He's black, and he he like, oh well, he's black, but he he'll hang out with the AB guys. Like they'll sit there, dude.
I'll go straight up to the compound. And hang
Like
out with them.
they'll buy them.
Like they all respect me because I don't give a fuck.
They'll buy them shit, and they'll like sit down and drink coffee with them. It's like the AB stuff is just all a front. Like all this racism shit is just to fit in.
And all the Aryan Brotherhood does is they fight each other, you know?
Yeah, I suspected that. I even have a script about a couple Aryan brothers. Anyway, yeah. So what do you say? So your black friend down there hangs out with the Aryan brothers. That. Come on, man. That's got to be in a movie.
There's this other smaller group. Like I don't even feel like saying their name on.
Yeah, don't do it.
Yeah, I'm not gonna. There's another smaller white supremacist gang, and they got a Mexican in their gang. You know. He's just like, you know, he got.
There isn't a real ethos. It's just tribal.
Yeah. Oh, dude! While I was in jail, I met a black dude with a swastika on it. He had a swastika tattoo, and he's all AB and everything. And this dude was like one of those dark black guys, like real, like I could barely see the swastika tattoo on him. Yeah, and oh man.
And what did he think though? Like, it's like what do you do? Are you like a black Nazi?
He was, dude, and he hung out with all the white pride people with the swastikas and the lightning bolts, you know.
It's because it's all fake. Like
you do what you got to do to survive. I mean, like I honestly think that. I think you're right. I think that maybe people don't understand that Aryan Brotherhood stuff down there is more about just partying and having people to be able to hang out with than anything else.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are overreacting to it. Like it's not really, like they're not really going to change the country into like Nazis. They're going to kill 6 million Jews.
Right.
Yeah, no, like if you give them an opportunity, they'll be like, no, we'd rather just sell meth. You know?
Where they're introduced to like I mean, like when I've seen one of those neo-Nazis actually hang out with like some Jewish friends of mine, they're suddenly like, oh no, hey, oh good.
It's just so weird, you know. It's probably weirder for like a mainstream media or news or something to see something like that and be able to comprehend what's going on. It's just that, like we've been saying, you know, it's all tribalism, and just, you know, it's all front, it's all fake.
Yes, it's posers. All those groups are bunch of posers, man. That was my point. Like, also, like, just the idea that, you know, we have these gangs, they hang out, and because, like, you know, it's a way to stand out, it's a way to be different, it's a way to be interesting. You know, that's all. I mean, like, because in reality, you know, if you're not like I guess a neo-Nazi, you're really boring. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. And they're all bored, all very bored.
Or they're not bored, and that's why they're neo-Nazis. Huh? Yeah, I said, or they're not bored, and that's why they're neo-Nazis. Yeah.
So, man, we haven't really got to talk about you, but I had a few questions and stuff about So I mean, your SLC Punk movie, you had Matthew Lillard and Jason Segel. I mean, these are people that are earlier in their career, and you were able to get them, and now they're like, well, Jason Segel's really big. Jason Segel's really big. I think
Matthew Lillard's.
Well,
he still
big.
does some stuff.
Well, he does more of the voice work for like Shaggy and stuff, and
yeah.
So how was that? How was it to get these actors in the casting process?
Well, I've always been able to get pretty good actors. They come audition, but I mean, I know a lot of people. I've always been able to. I mean, I made movies before SLC Punk and after, and I pretty much get pretty good cast. They don't mind working with me. I mean, like, as long as the script's, you know, they like the script. Like Jason Segel, that was his second job, I think, so he was just trying to work. I mean, like, these were like, I had a casting director, and they were coming in. I saw lots of people for that role. For those roles, you know, it's just it's not that hard. It's like, I mean, like, if you're writing, I mean, even like Devin Sawa, he was doing Final Destination and Idle Hands.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he played He played Sean. I mean, like, I think you can get actors. I mean, like,
he was kind of he was coming up for a moment in the early '90s, you know, with SLC Punk and Idle Hand and Final Destination.
That's late '90s. That came out in '99, man. Doesn't make you that old.
Well, you know what I mean. Like he seemed like he was a known face and becoming a household name, and then it kind of stopped. You know, I guess that's how it works, though.
Now, Devin. Here's the thing with Devin. Devin had a little bit of a problem with. He got in trouble with drinking and stuff, and so he went through that, and then he cleaned up about 8 years ago, and now he's coming back really strong. He's coming out in a movie starring with John Travolta that's going to be really hysterical.
Oh, hell yeah.
Cool. What's that?
I said, hell yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds good. That sounds cool.
Yeah, it's funny because it's like it's a John Travolta, directed by the guy from Limp Bizkit. It's about Devin Sawa plays an actor in horror movies, like a B horror movie actor, and John Travolta is like this man-child who kidnaps Devin Sawa and ties him to a bed and then tries to act out horror scenes. And Devin Sawa doesn't understand anything about horror, so he doesn't know what he's talking about.
Oh, that's gonna be very unique, man.
That's hilarious.
I mean, just look it up. It's called Moose. The picture of it's just him and Devin, and John Travolta and Devin, and the picture of the way that John Travolta looks, it's fucking hysterical. It's just hysterical. It's called Moose. The movie, Moose. It's coming out this year.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. It's like Misery, you know, like it's like that.
Yeah, that's. I was thinking that right when you said that he ties him to the bed.
Yeah, it's like Misery, and it's like I'm coming to get you, Barbara.
Hawaiian ass shirt.
Oh man, he looks creepy.
Yeah. He's slow. He's playing like a slow guy, you know. Like,
Oh.
Yeah.
So then you had SLC Punk 2 come out, and it took a while to get that out. I don't know if.
Oh man, you know, to be honest, I almost forgot about that movie.
How'd you forget about it?
Don't get me wrong, it's great. I don't know. It's been a moment.
no, it was something we did for the it was. I mean, it took. I shot it in 2014 and come out in 2016. That's pretty normal.
Yeah, it was really cool that like you had MGK in there. Like he was one of my favorite characters. What was his name in the movie?
Oh, Crash.
Crash, yeah, it was something cool like that. Crash was, you know, he was like the street punk, man, and like, you know, like in SLC 2, like, you know, there was a bunch of different tribes and shit, you know, like you had the goth girl, and then that dude, the main character, Bob's son, was like this dark goth, and you know, and
yeah, he was kind of that's all based on people I knew. But yeah, that was a sort of, I don't know, that's a much smaller, lighter, sentimental movie than SLC Punk. Normally I like to make more sort of darker or horror or scarier type or angry stuff. That was, I don't know, that was lighter. Some people don't like it because they didn't think it was macho enough, but that's all right.
Did you what was the issue with getting the originals back, or some of the originals, like Jason Segel and Matthew Lillard?
Well, Jason Segel, I didn't try to get back. I got Devin back. I got Jimmy Duvall, Michael Gordon. I got a bunch of people back. It was Lillard wanted that character. Steve-O is not. He was supposed to leave Salt Lake. I was talking about how the rich guy left. So he never came back. So like I have a whole other script about what Steve-O does. Same thing with Mike. Mike left Salt Lake to go to, so he didn't come back. So that story, it was hard for me to justify those guys being back in Salt Lake.
Yeah.
When I have a whole other script about those guys living in like New York and then Mike goes to Africa. I mean, like that's a whole other story.
Right.
I think it was like I didn't want to waste those stories on putting them back in this provincial town. I mean, like they left, they became like, you know, like they did huge stuff.
Yeah.
So,
man.
I didn't want to like suddenly put Mike, who like goes to Africa and builds schools for kids that, you know, like Africa, like, and then gets kidnapped by gorillas and and then beats the shit out of them and all that shit. I don't want to trivialize it and put them back as like some guys that stayed in Salt Lake.
Man, make those movies. You like, I mean, I don't know if I would be the only one, but like, I would fucking watch that. Oh man.
Yeah, I mean, I might. I mean, like, I have like there's a whole other script, and like Steve-O ends up representing Mark, who robs the bank. You know, I mean, like all that shit's in like those guys. Anyone that left wasn't in the sequel. The one that's about Salt Lake.
What's the
guys that left?
What's the process of writing a script, getting all that stuff together, casting, filming? Like how long does that initially take for you?
Well, it depends. I mean, like if I can write it, I have written a script, and then 6 months later I'm shooting it, and then a year later it's out. Or sometimes it can take years. I don't know. It depends on how things line up.
Now you said you were working on a series right now. Is that correct?
I'm working on it's a trilogy. It's not really a series. It's just 3 different movies about taking place in New York City in an apartment. They're all very paranoid stories, horror. Like one of them's like about this. You ever see The Exorcist?
Yeah. Yes.
So imagine if you're you're a comic book geek, and you do drawings and illustrations for comic books, and you're just living there and you're just this kind of nerd, and then the next door neighbor is that's The Exorcist that's going on over there. What happened in The Exorcist is happening next door.
Oh man, that's cool.
And you're trying to deal with that, and your friends think you're cool, like you're lucky, you're trying to tell them how terrible it is because the walls are bleeding. But your friends are like, dude, you live next door to The Exorcist, man. That's totally cool.
And he's like, no, man, my walls are bleeding. You know how hard it is to clean that shit up,
And also, the guy's he's thinking this, and he starts to suspect that maybe it's their fault, that because they're doing drawings of demons, and he thinks maybe they summoned the demon that went next door and possessed the kid.
Oh shit!
Oh my god! And this is going to be a trilogy, you said?
Well, that's the first one, and the other one is more about it's a relationship horror where this guy moves in with this woman who he begins to suspect is trying to set him up for human sacrifice. And then the third one is about this guy whose wife is dying, and then he meets this dude that cures her because she may or may not be some kind of angel. So so those are the 3 stories.
Did you write all these as well, or is this directing only?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like an anthology. There's no real
That's
connection
it.
between the 3.
Yeah, we call it the Manhattan Trilogy. Yeah.
Man,
Okay.
that sounds really cool.
And
Yeah.
and you're shooting that right now. Is it? Do you have a scheduled release date for any of these?
So I mean, I'm going to start shooting probably in the summer, and now it's either going to shoot them one after the other, so to come out over a period of 3 years, or I shoot them all together, as if it's one show. I got all the money together and just shoot it over the whole summer, and then put them out, space them out over the same year.
Man, that'd be cool either way. I like the idea of getting it all at once and being able to watch it all at once, but then also the anticipation of waiting for the next one next year. And so I'm whichever way you want to do it, buddy.
They're necessarily related, so it's just other than that they take place in New York and they're dark comedy, and horror, mixture of horror and humor. They're not there's vague connections, but there's no real it's not like Lord of the Rings, they're just different movies.
The vague connect, is it little Easter eggs that imply that they take place in the same universe?
You'll see a character from the other one show up briefly, just in their worst, most paranoid moment. You'll see him show up in the other movie, and you're like, oh, if you saw the first one, you'll recognize it, but it won't be important if you didn't.
Yeah, I love stuff like that. I get overly excited. I'm like, oh, that's that guy from the other show. I know what's going on.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, Easter egg is a good way to put it. I did it before when I first started making movies. I made these 2 movies. One was called Upstairs Neighbor, and the other one's called Tough Guy. And starring Heather Graham. And then the first one, the guy goes crazy. He thinks his upstairs neighbor are Satan worshipers, and he ends up getting hit by a car and dying. But as he's going nuts, at one point, he's in the second movie. You see him. He runs into Heather Graham, who's also losing her shit, and she starts yelling at him. And you realize, oh my God, this is something that happened before in the other movie while the guy was on his way home.
Oh man, see, I love that shit so much. I eat that shit up, you know. Just a little bit of implication that these two movies are taking place in the same universe. I wish more movies did that.
That's the right way of putting it. That they exist in the same universe.
Now you did a maybe not as well, I don't know. I think a lot of people might know it, but Magicians. That was a fun. That was a really fun film. I feel like some people went and copied you a little bit. Like in the future, I was at the Jim Carrey movie. I felt copied you, but Magicians.
Yes, they did. I totally got ripped off. Alan Arkin was in that. Something with one of Alan Arkin. Yeah.
Yeah, it was totally a rip off.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't heard. Adam was telling me about Magicians. I'm definitely gonna go back and watch that. I ain't seen
the magician. The main character is like he botches a trick, and he like cuts this woman's head off.
Damn.
And then and it's kind of he has to like come back from that, and he goes into I think if I remember correctly, it's very similar to the fucking Jim Carrey one where they have to do like a competition against the other magicians and stuff.
Yeah,
I think it's his ex assistant.
I'm gonna ask you about your inspiration for the soundtrack of SLC Punk. Whether these are bands that you grew up listening to, but you said earlier that you yourself weren't a punk, and I just kind of.
No, those are all those bands and stuff I listen to. Absolutely, 100%.
Man, that was a legit soundtrack, you know, like, see, I watched SLC Punk very young, and, like, I just come across a Rancid CD, and I was just getting into the punk, I was just learning what the fuck punk rock was, and, like, the soundtrack to SLC Punk, like, laid out, like, a whole list of bands for me to look into, and it changed my library completely, you know, like, at the time, like, I knew of NoFX and Rancid, but after SLC Punk, I had a slew of punk rock bands to look into and learn about. And
yeah, like Adolescents and Ramones and
Dead Kennedys and the Addicts. And
that's all those bands. They're still around. All those guys are still around.
Who's your favorite punk band?
Of the punk bands? Oh God, because I like so many.
I know, right?
Yeah, I mean, because I really used to like Minor Threat a lot, and then of course, I like the Ramones. So I like the Americans. I support American music, so I like the American bands. I like
Anarchy in the UK.
Yeah, right. I mean, I went to London, and I remember. I mean, when I was 20 years old, I went to England to go to school for a semester, and I had fights with those punks out there about where it started.
Hell yeah!
I remember,
that's probably the best.
Was it America with the Ramones, or was it the UK?
Yeah.
Who cares who started it?
That's probably one of the best monologues written.
You know, you guys are in America. You think you started punk rock. You don't know anything about punk rock, whatever. And I was like, guys, man, fucking, you can't even be punk and British.
You can't even be fucking British. Yeah.
I feel like you have to have grown up with cowboys, man. You don't even know.
Yeah. Oh, he's got a point. I gotta say, from the SLC soundtrack, one of my favorite bands was The Exploited. Man, like, I fucking love The Exploited.
That's a British punk band. They're great. That's a great band.
Yeah, man. Like, I think I'd heard once. I can't even remember what it's like. I think it's I heard one song by The Exploited prior to seeing your movie. I can't even remember which one. Yeah, I think it's Punk's Not Dead. Yeah, because that's like I was gonna say it's one of their most top known songs. But yeah, after seeing your movie, I explored them more and shit like that, and I just fucking love The Exploited. Sex and violence, fucking.
Yeah.
I hate cop cars.
Yeah. And then Generation X, I'm friends with the guitarist, Bob Durwood. Durwood is a friend of mine.
That was Billy Idol's band, right?
Yeah, that was when he was a punk band.
Yeah, and then he went on to the solo stuff. Yeah, Generation X is good. Like, I like them. You know, like, they're great. You know, they're at the time, whenever I came across like, I was looking for the most hardcore thrasher 80s street punk. And, you know, Generation X is like a different...
That's like JFA, and that's, Exploited is pretty GBH.
GBH is badass. But yeah, when I came across Generation X, is like, I don't know, man, this is a little too soft for me to call it.
Punk, yeah.
Yeah.
That's in the 70s. Like, if you're talking about, like, the thrash, like, skateboard punk from the 80s, then you need to think about JFA and bands like Minor Threat.
Yeah, and GBH. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, is, like, when I came across that 70s punk, I didn't really dig it that much, but now, you know, like, Kiss Me Deadly by Generation X, that's one of my favorite songs, and, you know, it's just, like I said, yeah, the 70s punk movement and the 80s punk movement is just two different animals, you know?
Yeah, it is. I mean, like, the thrash, it's hardcore. Like, the hardcore is, like, Exploited, and just that thrash stuff. Also, who else? Like, if you think of Bad Religion and Adolescence, right? Then
No Effects.
even the Dwarfs.
Yeah. Like that was the start of technically the start of the skater pop punk movement and all that.
Yeah. I mean, even the goth bands were hardcore then, like 45 Grave and Christian Death. I mean, like those are pretty harsh, like hard bands. Whereas, like, you know, in the 70s you had X. Well, Circle Jerks. See, that's why, like, the American hardcore punk bands from the 70s, to me, are more hardcore than the British 70s hardcore. Because, like, Circle Jerks and Dead Kennedys and I forget who else I'm going to say, but those Fear, those guys are a little more rough than, say, Sex Pistols and Generation X and Tubular Bands. You know, they're just rougher bands.
Yeah, I agree. That's a good point.
Yeah.
And
they came out at the same time.
Yeah, and they kind of paved the way for, like, the more hardcore scene of the 80s, more so than the UK
like
bands did.
Is one of those bands. Yeah.
So, Ramones are the Sex Pistols.
Like skate punk stuff where it's really just hardcore. Like, but then they went back though when, like, Rancid. I mean, Rancid's pretty pop. It's pretty pop punk. Like, there's a very catchy ska punk tune.
Yeah. See, prior to watching SLC Punk, Rancid was the most punk band I'd known. Other than that, it's just like pop punk bands, and Rancid is pop punk.
Well, I mean,
rightfully.
I hate to admit it, but I was in my 20s then, so, and I don't know, when they came out, my friends and I was already making movies. I started making movies when I was 21. So when they came out, I always thought, like, these guys are just, like, kind of poser. Like, that was the general attitude.
Yeah, I mean, they look like they're trying so hard to be punk and everything like that, you know? Yeah,
I mean, they with age, they became, obviously, like, really, like, great. But, I mean, at the time, my friends were like, oh, dude, it's like this white ska punk band. Like, it's not, you know, like, it was Epitaph selling out. I don't know. We were stupid because they were a good band. I don't know why we thought that. But, you know, because I guess it just wasn't, like, from my experience, those hardcore bands were the 80s, where it was, like, not that. And also Green Day, when Green Day first came out, everyone just assumed that was just sort of a pop band.
Yeah.
And then later on, everyone said, like, those guys are like the king of punk rock. And we're like, whoa. And somebody even said, like, why, for the band in SLC Punk, they suggested Green Day. And I said, oh, no, I need a punk band. And they were like, well, they are a punk band. I said, no, I need, like, an actual punk band.
Yeah, like a raw punk band.
And now I realize, like, no, they were, because, I mean, to me, they sounded post-punk, like pop punk, you know, their songs are great, but now they are considered a punk band. When I found that out later on, I was like, wait, what, Green Day? I thought they were just kind of an MTV band. I didn't really think of them as a punk band.
Yeah, well, they put punk on the mainstream map and stuff. You know, like their first couple albums, like Dookie and other ones that I can't even remember. Those did have more of a faster punk riffs, more of you know, that style of singing, and you know, like everyone doesn't want to acknowledge pop punk as real punk, but I mean, it's there. You know,
I think that I was just ill informed. I mean, like I was busy directing movies, so I didn't know. You know, like I just, you know, I mean, like I knew like I was friends with the managers that with Beastie Boys, and I thought that the punk had gone in that direction.
yeah.
With sort of Beastie Boys stuff, because Beastie Boys were originally a punk band, and so I didn't realize that Green Day was so like sort of they did that Woodstock that my girlfriend had gone to, and because she was working for Warner Brothers. So I mean, I guess I was just too involved in that at that point. Like, you know, when you actually know the people, you don't really think, you know, because when I like bands like to me like Exploited or Black Flag, I like those are like TSOL. Those are like bands I idolize. Those are like famous people. And then when in my 20s, I was working in Hollywood. I met all the new people, so I didn't think of them as celebrities or famous people. I thought of them as just contemporaries.
Yeah.
So I didn't take them seriously. You know, like, and now upon reflection, I'm like, oh, those people really did influence a lot of you know, like the music. It's just weird coming from that angle because, like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I mean, like
when he said I works with Jason Segel, to me, he's just a guy that came in and read.
yeah.
You know, but if it had been Rob De Niro, I would have been like, oh my God, because I grew up thinking Robert De Niro is a big famous guy.
Yeah.
So
that just
you know,
shows the difference in you know, just generations, perception,
and also just experience. You know, like it's just I knew him. You know what I mean? Like for instance, I used to hang out with this girl, Carrie Ann Moss, was a friend of mine, and we used to hang out, whatever, because I was friends with her boyfriend, and you know, she was between jobs, whatever, so we would, just, you know, we were just friends. And then she was in The Matrix, and I was like, how'd you get that job? And then, like, she became really famous for The Matrix. I was like, you know Carrie Ann Moss? I was like, yeah, I know a lot of people. Like you know,
It's not a big deal, man.
yeah, you know, she just, you know, like she got a good job. You know, like that's, you know, I don't know, like that's so like for me, like fame and music, they all got wrapped up because like when I was growing up, that stuff meant something. But then when I met everybody that became successful, I thought that this all got jobs, and it's just a different perspective.
Yeah,
exactly.
They're all just, you know, out there working.
Like I can work with or not work with. I mean, that's all it comes down to now. So that's why when I always hear like people talk about Hollywood and the Insider or whatever, they talk about Hollywood elitism and all that shit, I'm like, that's not anything. That's they don't know anything about Hollywood. First off, a lot of people don't make money. They're not the richest people in the country. It's not that lucrative of a business, and they're just regular people, and they're all from all kinds of different opinions. And because I always hear like people say, well, the Hollywood liberal elite. I'm like, you don't really know what you're talking about. You don't know.
Yeah,
because especially since like most actors I've ever met come from Midwest. They're not West.
I think I've heard that a lot too.
I mean, Brad Pitt, like I talked about. I know Brad Pitt. He comes from like Indiana or something like that.
Yeah,
You know, like he's like
small.
a very Christian family, you know, all that stuff. So you know, he was like, and everyone's like, oh, he's part of the Illuminati. Like, no, he's not. He's not.
He's not.
Which brings us to our final question for you, man. How many times has the Illuminati contacted you, and what's their next plan?
Yeah, the Illuminati. I'm like, if there was an Illuminati, I would have been invited. Come on.
Yeah.
But anyways, man, we're running out of time here. Keenan's got work for whatever reason.
You know, it has nothing to do with my bills or anything.
Guys,
And so I want to thank you so much for coming on to our show, Mr. Merendino. You are awesome.
Yes, you are. Thank you so much. I mean, I was looking so forward to this interview. You know, SLC Punk was such an influential movie for me growing up, and it blew my mind to be able to sit here and talk with you today.
Great. Thanks for having me. I really enjoyed you guys. It was a good show.
Thank you, man.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Later, man.
So we just got done interviewing James Merendino, director, writer of SLC Punk. What a punk
Director
he was.
of my childhood.
Let's get on to the the beer of the day.
Adam knows me. He wouldn't let me grab the beer because I tasted it before it was ready.
And today's beer of the day is Ballast Point Victory at Sea. It's an imperial porter with coffee and vanilla. It is 10% in alcohol by volume, has an IBU of 60.
You talk like a radio host from the 70s.
Why, thank you. Now we're going to go ahead and try this beer.
Has a really cool skeleton at the helm.
At sea, and it ties into what we're talking about.
With some fucking pirate shit, bro.
You know, taking alcohol across the seas and stuff.
Oh man, that is delightful. Oh man, that is good.
You know what's the first thing I tasted? But
9.
That's probably the
It's like,
that's probably the strongest vanilla tasting
yeah, they threw.
I've ever had.
Dude, it's like.
That's probably the best.
It's
vanilla
beer,
tasting.
coffee, and vanilla creamer.
You know, because a lot of beers they'll say they have vanilla in them, and that's the first time I've really tasted vanilla.
Adam,
That was good.
I would like to branch off on a story that has nothing to do with what we're talking about.
Coffee.
I would like to not do that right now. Actually, let's rate this beer, then we'll get into my random story. You know, let's not lose.
This beer is 9 barrels of hops at sea.
It is 9 barrels at a hops at sea. I will not even try to think of my own analogy. That is perfect.
It might be a. You know what it is? I think the IBUs are throwing it off for me.
It's the John Jameson of beer.
It's a little. For a porter.
I'm already done with mine.
For a porter, it's a little high in IBU, but I mean, the flavor's so good. I'm gonna keep it at a 9. I almost thought about going to a 10. But I'm gonna see 9 barrels at sea.
Yeah, me too. Because I know my 10s, and there's a fine line between 9 and 10s. Like it might even be little things like marketing and advertisement. You know, like these 2 beers, I think they taste the greatest, but one has better marketing. Blah blah blah. Hashtag George Killians. You know, so I'm gonna give it a 9, just to preserve that 10 for the special few.
This is a good special beer. I've never
Ballast Point. I'm gonna give it a 10. Speaking of marketing and stuff,
there's a skeleton on the front.
I know.
He's awesome.
He's at the helm of he's like straight up at the fucking wheel. He's a helmsman. I'm all up into that. This is fucking pirate beer.
Hell yeah,
and like everyone, like dude, rum uses pirating as marketing. You know, like people don't like market pirates and beer. That's for rum. But these people did. You know,
right? Yeah, and Ballast Point. I've only really hit.
Look at that on there on the neck is the nautical thing and stuff.
This is my second beer from them. The first one was that Sculpin, or whatever the beer with the fish on it. I didn't really like that one, but this one's really good.
Well, that's because that one was for fishermen and this one's for pirates.
And we are pirates.
We're
not on that month yet. We have an entire month.
We have a pirate month.
We're gonna have an entire month dedicated to pirates.
What? No. What month is that?
In fact, there's gonna come a point in time we're gonna have an entire, I think, 3 months dedicated to maybe we'll make it down to 1 month, but an entire month dedicated to
pirates.
No, basically doing a kind of like a D&D style game.
All right, well you lost me at we're not talking about pirates. So go back to pirates.
We're gonna have a pirate month, and then we're gonna have a D&D month.
When's the
in
pirate
the future?
month?
Right now we're doing you don't notice because you're not in those episodes, but right now we're doing wrestling months.
All right, well
and
now I'm heartbroken.
Wrestling month
left out and
Wrestling ends in
excluded.
the beginning of April.
It's because
And
I was
so-
in jail, wasn't it?
And so Pirate Month may be in May. We have May maybe May.
All right, well, I will set up the interviews for that time.
You're gonna interview pirates?
No, we're going to interview pirate historians, right?
Oh, that'd be cool. Yeah, pirate historians. That'd be cool.
Well, if you don't get a hold of pirate historians, I feel like you dropped the ball on them.
How about people from pirate films?
All right, for those of you who don't know, that was me sliding my beer across the table as if I'm more. Go on.
No, I'm just saying.
No.
Saying. We'll find
all right,
somebody.
well, like, for one, Pirates of the Caribbean's. Oh, dude, let's get someone from Black Sails.
That'd be crazy.
Yeah, the dude who played Charles Vane.
Are you gonna get them for me?
No, but like,
What is the point of you
you're
co-host?
the guy that gets a hold of the celebrities.
What is the point of you co-host? I feel like I'm the only one doing anything around here.
Of course you are. I am 100% personality. That's why I'm here. That's why your ratings dropped while I was in jail. And
Hey, Keenan. That's just your opinion.
because all we have here. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought we were done.
And that's fine. Because
all we have here are opinions and beer. Opinions and beer.
Opinions and beer. Can't go wrong with opinions and beer. Opinions and beer.
Sounds like the end
Opinions and
of the
beer.
episode.
All we got here are opinions
And beer.
and beer.
But don't let him get you wrong. We just felt like singing.